Good afternoon and welcome. Great to see so many wonderful smiling faces about children in Alachua County here this afternoon for this board meeting of the Children's Trust of Alachua County. Just to ground us in our mission is to fund and support a coordinated system of community services that allows all youth and their families in Alachua County to thrive. Little rules of the road here. Any member of the public wishing to be heard during our meeting today shall come forward to the podium at the appropriate time, introduce themselves to the board, and members of the public will be recognized for 3 minutes to speak on any single subject matter or to address the current motion on the floor. The clerk of the trust will serve as our official timekeeper, and there will be a few opportunities for those comments during the meeting. Please do be reminded that our policy prohibits unplanned funding requests from the podium. Should a member of the public wish to talk with the trust about funding and make a funding request, please contact our executive director or staff for consideration. And our clerk will now call the roll and verify that at least 5 members of the trust are physically present for today's meeting. As a reminder to myself, please directly into the microphone after touching the button and having it turn green.
Member Chair Mary Chance. Here. Member Ken Cornell.
Here.
Dr. Nancy Hart, member.
Here.
Dr. Maggie Labarda.
Here. Here.
Lee Pinkerson, member.
I'm here.
Thank you. And Melissa Walker, member. Here. Madam Chair, you have quorum.
Madam Chair, I would move that we allow Commissioner Pinkerson to participate and vote due to extenuating.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to the approval of our agenda today, including any revisions. Note that approval of the agenda includes all items on the agenda, including the consent agenda. And are there any requests, board members, or revisions to the agenda or requests for any items to be pulled from the?
I'd like to move the proposed funding opportunities to the discussion agenda, and I would ask that we put it after the Finance Committee report. And it's not in opposition to any of the projects. I just want to have a little broader understanding of what their aims are.
Okay, great. So that would go under committee updates after number 11 under Finance Committee recommendation. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any general public comments on the agenda or any materials that were in the consent agenda? Right, thank you. I think our first order of business this afternoon is installation of a new board member, our judicial representative, Phillip Pena. And I would like to administer the oath of office. He walked in and I remembered that I had a flashback to volunteering at Rotary Reading Safari with you about 25 years ago, reading to second graders. So maybe it wasn't that long ago. But great to see you again and welcome you officially. If you could please stand. And I think you have a copy. I do. You've done this once or twice. Yes, so. Okay. I, Phillip A. Pena.
I, Phillip A. Pena.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support, protect, and defend.
That I will support.
The Constitution and government of the United States.
The Constitution and government.
And of the state of Florida.
And of the state of Florida.
That I am duly qualified.
And that I am duly qualified.
To hold office under the Constitution of the state.
To hold office.
That I will well and faithfully perform.
And that I will well and faithfully perform.
The duties of a board member.
The duties of a board
member. Of the Children's Trust of Alachua County.
Of the Children's Trust.
Of which I am about to enter.
On which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Hey.
Well done. We'll both sign that.
Yes, ma'am.
For you.
Best seat, by the way.
Okay, and then also in terms of board governance and membership, we are in a position where we do not currently have a vice chair. And we need to discuss the election of a vice chair for the Children's Trust. Any nominations, discussion on a vice chair from our current board members, or willingness to serve?
I'm happy to do it. I was also going to see if Lee was interested as vice chair. Oh, you can't do it, Lee. Okay. I'll do it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Ken Cornell to serve as vice chair of the trust. Any discussion or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you for your service. And I happen to have in my back pocket an oath of office. And Marcia, should we proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Oh, I have to do this too. Okay, yes. All right, I will solemnly.
we're doing all the official stuff.
Well, let me get in picture position.
I, Commissioner Ken Cornell,
I, Commissioner Ken Cornell,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution,
that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will
the duties of Vice Chair
the duties of vice chair
of the Children's Trust of Alachua County,
of the Children's Trust,
of which I'm about to enter.
on which I'm about to.
Help me God.
So help me God.
All right, we needed to do that in case I decide to stay in Hawaii after the next couple of weeks.
All right, I got you if you do. There you go.
So much. Okay. Moving on, Executive Director's Report. Marcia, you've been a little busy. Anything you'd like to
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I forget, she's in the corner. We have a new team member, Jenny Benson. She is our new program specialist. Everyone welcome Jenny. Jenny will be working with our providers, ensuring that we get contracts where they're supposed to be. She's a resource for you should you need assistance. She'll be helping Demetrica a little bit with SAMIS. So we are so excited to have Jenny join our team. So welcome, Jenny. So I tell you, March was a busy, busy month for us. Although spring break happened in the middle of March, we were busy. So I'm going to highlight for you all a couple of the activities. Our summer camp convening, some of the faces in this room joined us. There were about 21 folks here for training. There were presentations from all of the team, lots of talk about data and evaluations, best practices. I just want to say kudos to the team, Amy, Bonnie, Belita, really everybody. Darlena gave her first communications training, offering assistance to our providers. So we love when we're able to bring everybody together and they have an opportunity to talk with one another. So thank you, everybody. Summer camp folks who are in the room, thank you all for being with us. And thank you in advance for the jobs that you're going to be doing. Thanks to Madam Chair for putting us in touch with Dr. Stacy Bayer, Senior Vice President from the Helios Education Foundation. We had a wonderful convening of our literacy collaborative and others interested in literacy, where we heard about two really great initiatives out of Hillsborough and Pinellas County. They gave us a lot of she gave us a lot of insights, got the juices flowing, and so our collaborative is going to be meeting, I think, I see Leah here, so maybe in the next 2 weeks, there should be a meeting where we're going to be talking about how we bring on early learning into this conversation in a major way. So more to come on early learning, our learning collaborative, but it was a great conversation. We have a meeting, Tina, with the school district here shortly. I don't know dates, but I know it's in the next week or so to talk about UFly, specifically what's being done in the schools, and then how can the collaborative support that work. So it was a really great meeting, convening for us. So thank you, Madam Chair, for bringing that forward to us. And then lastly, we held a staff retreat. We have been busy at the Trust. Will you pass those down for me? So we try to have a staff retreat quarterly. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's a little longer than a quarter. But for the last 2 of those retreats, we've really been talking about the trust and staff, specifically who we want to be, how we want to treat one another, how we want to treat our providers, and then kind of what do we stand for as a team. And so I would like to share with you all our final culture statement that we all as a team decided is what we believe in. It is, we put children first in every decision, ensuring supports that are universal, targeted, and community-based. We invest in innovative, collaborative solutions that strengthen families and deliver lasting impact. We are guided by integrity, respect, and inclusivity. We foster a positive culture where people and communities thrive. So that is our culture statement. We are going to continue to do some work in our every other week staff meetings, talking about what this means and how we can show up daily, really representing it. So I am very proud of the team. I thank them. I think I've already done that privately, but I want to do so publicly for doing the work, for having honest conversations where we talked about, what we liked, what we didn't like, and the whole team able to come together and agree on who we want to be as a team. So thank you, Trust staff. Lastly, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And to that end, we have a proclamation that I would like, here it is, I would like to read, and then I would like to have Madam Chair sign. I believe that it represents all of us board members. Child Abuse Prevention Month, April 2026. Whereas strong communities are built by supporting children and families and ensuring every child has the opportunity to grow up safe, healthy, and surrounded by caring relationships. Whereas the Children's Trust of Alachua County is dedicated to funding and supporting a coordinated system of services that allows all youth and their families to thrive. And whereas positive childhood experiences and supportive environments help children succeed in school, build resilience, and lead healthy, productive lives. And whereas, although more than 5,000 cases of child abuse are reported each year in Alachua County, our community continues to come together to provide hope, healing, and support to thousands of children and caregivers through prevention, advocacy, and care. And whereas, through strong partnerships with the Child Abuse Prevention Task Prevention Task Force and many dedicated community organizations, we are building a culture of prevention that strengthens families and reduces the risk of abuse and neglect. And whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month is a time to recognize the power of community, celebrate the impact of collective action, and recommit to creating a brighter future for all children. Lastly, now therefore, we, the Children's Trust of Alachua County, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and call upon all residents, businesses, and community partners to support families, uplift children, and work together to ensure every child can grow, learn, and thrive. That is our goal for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Awesome. Moving on, we have Finance Committee recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So our Finance Committee met, thank you, April 1st. I had to think about, like, did they meet in March? It was this month. And received an update on our fund balance as we go into preparations for our budget, our 2027 budget. During that process, we had a discussion, and there was a recommendation that we should move from a 2-month reserve contingency fund to a 3-month contingency fund to align with best practices and to strengthen our financial stability. As you all know, there's talk about making some changes to ad valorem taxes. We are on the precipice of war. We really don't know what the economic situation is going to be. What we do know is that we as a trust want to be situated so that we can continue to support the programs and services that we are currently supporting. So the Finance Committee has brought forth a recommendation that we move from 2 months reserve to 3 months reserve. And staff will be bringing this recommendation, really the policy, to the board at the May meeting. But because the committee just met, we didn't want to hold it. We wanted to make you aware that this is a recommendation that will be coming forward at the May meeting.
Any comments, questions on that?
I mean, there's plenty in reserves.
I know it's clear.
Yeah, this is more of a policy so that it's kind of embedded into our policy.
But it will impact, what's available to do what with, so it is something that'll affect how we budget going forward, but I think given everything, it's a prudent thing. I think we all agreed that it was a prudent.
Okay, and
Okay, so I had, just as I said it, when I asked that we pull this item, there were 2 funding opportunities that were under our kind of innovation.
it's under the tab 9.
Tab 9, innovation funding, and there was a lovely description of the programs, but what I didn't have a sense of is what's the innovation we're trying to demonstrate, what were the objectives, what's the intent, so that we have a clearer sense of what the programs that are being funded are hoping to achieve that's new and what is expected at the end of this, I guess, year-long, right? It's a single year of funding.
It is a single year, sorry, Madam Chair. It is a single year funding, but it may only be 3 or 4 months, depending on when the applicant is funded. Our Innovation for Impact grants don't have a year end, and so if they are funded 5 months into the fiscal year. That program is only 5 months. So, yes, but when negotiating contract, reviewing these applicants, we do still use our results-based accountability framework. All of them are required to use SAMIS, submit data, and they will continue to have how well, better off. So for an example, with our Handy Youth in Action, the better off is that 80% of the young men participating in the program will successfully complete the OSHA 10 certification. They will also gain the job readiness skills. Our research evaluation team will assess that through a couple different surveys, assessments, required documentation from the organization. I apologize, I don't have that specific information in front of me, but I can pull the performance measures for all of the Innovation for Impact programs that we fund.
If you could just send those out as an information item, I think that would just be, and for future when we see these, to just kind of tell us. Yeah, I mean, obviously, some of these are kind of an emerging best practice, or we hope it's going to be an emerging best practice, so we'd like to kind of I'd like to have a better sense of what that emerging practice is and what they're aiming to achieve. Just the certification information alone for that made it like, oh, that is a really strong and hard and measurable deliverable, so appreciate that.
So moving forward, I will include the performance measures for all of them. Yes, ma'am, will do.
Is there some reason why we don't know who it is? Like, who is strong-minded mentoring? I have a guess, but I don't know. Well, I mean, are we allowed to know that? I'm just asking.
So are you saying you'd like to know who their executive director is and the board, but the organization is Strong-Minded Mentoring? But we can.
One of those, I feel like I know these people, but without a name, I can't be sure, you know?
So what would the board like? Do you want to know more than who the organization is?
I think it does. I think with both of these, it's, right, how are we doing? Is that a little better? Okay, we do need to move on this item because we pulled it from the consent agenda, but I just want to point out that this is a new thing. And so it feels like, in terms of the information to the board, it's somewhere between a sponsorship and a full contract, an RFP. And so I love the idea that if we're measuring the same way, we know what we're shooting for, and maybe just a little bit more detail.
We can provide more detail that was requested, the performance measures and that information. I'm still not clear if you're asking for specific information about the organization, as we do not do that for RFPs.
From my perspective, I'm kind of with Tina. I'm assuming staff has vetted them and then they're a legit organization and all of that. I'm more interested in what we're trying to get them to provide us. So I'll move that we approve.
Have a motion? A second? Thank you. Any discussion?
That was what Meg.
We can provide that. What we do is, there's a policy that the board has created for us to follow. What we're really looking for is it a new idea to the trust, right? Is it a new idea that is not being specifically funded through the trust and within the county? A program that isn't, or that is easily accessible to the youth in our community. And so it's an internal discussion where we're looking at the policy that was created as well as what's available to the youth in the community. But we can provide additional information the next go around for sure.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Member Certain. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Awesome, thank you so much. Got two really meaty, exciting presentations today, and I'm afraid I don't have names. I know the second group personally, but I don't have the names of our first presenters, but a gun violence initiative overview, if you all.
I can provide a quick overview as they are. I don't want to present it for you for sure, but we have our partners from the city of Gainesville presenting on the Gun Violence Alliance, and that would be Brittany and Brandy, from the Brittany Coleman and Brandy Stone. Is that where we are? Okay, yes. Come on up.
All right. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Ms. Kiner. My name is Brittany Coleman. I'm the Gun Violence Intervention Program Manager with the City of Gainesville. And we have a quick update for you on our gun violence prevention initiative, which is being pulled up right now. So if you go to the next slide. I think there are some new faces since the last time we presented. The Children's Trust funds a couple of different initiatives through the city. One of them is the facilitation of a youth steering committee, and these are made up of youth across the city that help inform some of our efforts. And it's overseen by our Parks and Recreation Department, so we did invite the facilitators of that particular initiative to give you a brief update on some of the things that they've been working on since our last update, as well as some of the initiatives and numbers of that program. Corey or Cherie?
Thank you, Brittany. Good morning, afternoon, board. So I'm Corey Collins, YSC GNV. I'm one of the facilitators with Miss Sherry Kelly. Just to show you some of the things we talked about and did this past year, we bolstered our recruitment efforts. We visited and spoke with youth at Project Youth Build, Aquin Jones, Pace Alachua, B Hopes, and Made for More. We had a total hours of 12 and a half hours. Thank you. And then last year, I told you about the same thing. We were super excited about our community team kickbacks. We did one this year with the GHA with Freddie over in July. We had 13 youth come from the community, and then 7 YSC GEV members facilitated. 4 multi-sector adult facilitators were also there. So we also made sure we had a community health counselor there, as well as myself and Miss Kelly. The collective efforts led to a 2-member increase since October. So now we're up to 12. We have 12 applicants right now. We're looking at doing some more interviews this coming Wednesday at our group. We've had a discussion led by myself, really talking about some ongoing updates from the GVPA. I attend GVPA with one of our youth steering committee liaisons, and so we report back from the GVPA to the YSC. And then we worked on some community team kickback events. We're in the process of planning our new one, hopefully this summer. We're in talks with Pace Alachua and potentially Made for More. And then just looking at our attendees, over the month, we have a pretty steady amount of students coming out, and we're looking forward to adding to more of that this Wednesday also. Any questions about the YSC committee or what we're doing with the youth? Yes. So thinking about the community teen events, we have 5 questions that we ask, and we set them up in a rotation. So we would go to like GHA, we set up 5 different stations. The youth would travel through each station. They would answer 1 of 5 questions. Those are the exact same 5 questions we've been using since the inception of YSC. We take that data to then bring back to our city and county commission, and then it informs YSC of other areas for us to be able to go and do more of these community teen events. So as a board member, if you have an area or a youth group you think might benefit, please let us know. We love to connect with you and connect with those youth to go through those questions about our community teen event. So after we do the questions, then we kick back. We have a DJ, we have some food, we hang out, we just talk and try to build that relationship. And I'm always trying to recruit new members for our YSC. Thank you.
Just the recruitment efforts, who selects the schools that actually you go out to?
So I go to every school in the county, and we go to talk to SROs and SRDs, and then principals and deans. They then say, oh, this student might be good for it, so they apply, and then they come to get interviewed by the youth by YSC. So I'm only in the interview as an adult to take notes, but it is led by the youth of YSC. So they will come, like this Wednesday, they'll come in, we'll split them out into groups, we'll have 2 kids with interviewer, 2 kids with this interviewee, they will interview out, they will come back and make a choice as a group on who they want to Miss Kelly to invite to be a part of the program.
Because I'm new, I don't want to take up
No
too much
problem, go
time,
ahead.
but I just want to make sure. So is it fair to say that efforts have been made in every school thus
Yes,
far?
sir.
Okay. And
So
it just turns out that some of them have not resulted in recruits being.
Correct. And so what I don't have up here are the schools presented right now, represented in our, on our YSC committee right now. But we have kids, I don't even want to guess, but we do have kids from other high schools. These were some of the ones that were missing that we want to make sure we had attendance from. So in theory, if you don't see the high school up there, we have a kid on our board from that high school. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Great question. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Collins. And as he mentioned, one of the real special things about having a youth steering committee is that they help inform some of our overall efforts. So a lot of the themes that have come out of these community events are about centering the arts, trauma-informed care, making sure that young people are leading these efforts. And so as we create new initiatives with within Impact GMV and the city's efforts, we're always looking at what our youth are telling us.
We've got a question here.
Hey, Brittany, I'm sorry. I know that you're with the city of Gainesville, but I just thought of, I saw in the swag area, they had this event on Saturday that was sports related.
Yes.
Are you all participating, or is this effort purely just city of Gainesville? Or are you all reaching out? Because this was an issue, gun violence is an issue. We had some challenges countywide.
Yes, ma'am. We don't have a slide in there about the different zip codes, but we do cover countywide. I think swag is like 32607. We do have some efforts out in that area. We did not get to make the event on Saturday. We all had other engagements, but we do work really closely with Mr. Whitehead, who's over strong-minded mentoring, and some of his efforts as well. So we're looking forward to continued collaboration.
I was just wondering, so I noticed the school focus, which is good, captive audience there for our target, the demographic that we're targeting, but I was just wondering if we would maybe look outside of school day activity type things to those community events, because you may have some touch points with you.
For the youth steering committee specifically?
For any of your things.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And I do believe that the county also is working on steering committees that are outside of the city limits as well. And I will definitely let them speak to that. Another initiative that the trust funds for the city is our gun violence strategic plan. We kicked that off August of last year. We were able to choose DPI LLC, which is a Florida-based organization that was chosen through a review process that had a diverse panel. They started with community engagement. We had several town halls. Some of them were virtual, some of them were some of them were in person. We also had a smaller one specific to people in the community who might not have felt as comfortable going to, maybe the police department, which is where we had one of our town halls. And through all of that feedback, I think many of you might have sat with them as well, some members of our city government, county government, to to create a collective plan, and from that, we were able to put together a 3 to 5 year strategic plan using DPI LLC, and that plan is available. I believe it is in your packet, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about it.
Any questions? Discussion.
And then our next slide, really quickly, just want to highlight some of the performance measures. I heard you all talking about how much, how well, better off. So we've worked to develop some of these measures with the trust, and we're still developing some of them. So you'll see that we, for our better off measures, are still collecting information. But for how much our target for field contacts, which is our street outreach violence interrupter team, being in the community, introducing themselves to folks, walking neighborhoods, doing community canvassing, attending events in the community to make their presence and services known. And so our target with the Children's Trust was 750 for the year. At the time of this reporting period, we had just shy of 1,900. And 48% of those were with young people 18 and under. The number of referrals, we had a target of 200. At the time of this reporting, we had reached that target, and about 55% of those referrals were young people 18 and under. Conflicts mediated, our target is 80. You'll see we have 10 that we reported. There is an asterisk there because we are looking to update how we capture some of those. In order to be able to report them into SAMIS, we have to have a date that those conflicts were mediated, and some of them don't have dates, so I wasn't able to include them in this presentation. But the ones that we were able to report on is 10. And in our how well measures, you could see the first one is conflicts successfully mitigated. And in our conversations with the trust, the definition of successfully mitigated is if there was an escalation of whatever that conflict was by the time the end of their shift for that day. And you can see there was a 100% success rate. We don't count the ones where the outcome was unknown, and we only had one where we didn't know the outcome by the end of the shift. For technology hubs, there is another slide, but that is a program that the trust funds as well. We're looking for an 80% target, utilization rate, which is serving about 320. That would be our 80% mark. And right now we're at 14%. And just to give you a little bit of a timeline, we launched our technology hubs in January, and we were able to start giving them to our chosen organizations in February, and so most of them had not started by the time we reported this data. The 14% is actually just one of the chosen organizations that we were able to capture for this period. And then, as you just heard, the Youth Steering Committee, our target is about 8 young people a session, an average of 8 young people a session, and we're hovering at about 6. For better off measures, a reduction in shots fired, reduction in youth weapon and firearm offenses, and a reduction in youth assault and battery offenses. I do have the shots fired numbers that were submitted from the Gainesville Police Department. And I do just want to say that, of course, the reduction that we're seeing across the city and the county, is not fully attributed to Impact GMV and our violence interrupters. This is a collaborative effort led by our law enforcement and, of course, the community organizations like the many you all were discussing. So when you look at shots fired for, sorry, I'm just seeing this slide, I know, for the first time. Or not for the first time, but just seeing this slide for the shots fired. The information that I have from the Gainesville Police Department, looking at these target zip codes for the fiscal year 2023 to 24, which we captured as July 1st to June 30th. In 23 and 24, it was 150. And in 24, 25, according to GPD, those ended at 81 for about a 46% reduction.
Those are full years. 33 year-to-date as of March, correct for this year?
81 was a full year, and what I have in my notes is 38 from July to where we are today. Yes, I'm sorry, July 1 to June 30th. Yes.
And the other data is in that same year, July 1 year?
This data, yes, our data is year to date. This data is the state fiscal year. We captured, I think the trust captured some of this data from a dashboard provided by the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice, and their calendar year is a bit different from July to June. Does that make sense?
If that's the case, 33 over 9 months is much better than last year.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So a quick question about the data. This data, is this indicating that the youth is the perpetrator of the gunshot being fired or just involved in the incident?
This is youth-involved incidents across the entire county. That is what the Florida Department captures. And they were able in their dashboard to kind of break some of this out by zip code. What you're seeing with the youth assault and batteries are all assault and batteries, so they may be connected to gun violence, they may not be, but that's the total for those target zip codes.
So saying that this data may reflect incidents where the youth is the victim. Whether it's just gunshots being fired and they happen to be involved in it in some manner. They don't have to be the person who's actually firing the weapon.
So the shots fired are citywide, and they include young people and adults. For the youth weapon firearm offenses and the youth assault and battery, those are just youth-specific, and those were from the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice.
May not even exist, but is there data that shows when the youth is the actual perpetrator?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, and it's here somewhere?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
To the right, that's what these are all used.
The top and the bottom on the right of this are youth-specific. So the youth are the offender. Yes,
I
yes.
see, okay. So that's the more potentially relevant information to know whether or not what you're doing is having an effect on the youth's activities of utilizing the weapon.
Yes, sir, and I will say, again, this is all Alachua County wide, within those zip codes. Some of them, of course, some zip codes are city and county, they kind of split. With the youth weapon and firearm offenses, we are in communication with the Florida Department of DJJ to kind of parse out which of those are firearm related. Just because it's a weapon doesn't mean a firearm specifically. So we weren't able to parse that out for this specific presentation. Future presentations, we will be able to have that information. And the same with the assault and batteries. Again, it's any assault and battery, which may or may not be connected to gun violence or further escalation. It could just be one tussle from young people who are neighbors and maybe having a bad day versus something that would escalate into shots fired or something a little bit more significant.
Brittany, thank you. So am I reading this correctly in that even though the offenses haven't dropped significantly, what has dropped is the shots fired?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
How could the shots fired be, for the 9-month period, be 33, but the youth one be 36? If what's on the left is everything?
Offenses, it doesn't mean that they were shots fired. They were offenses that included a weapon or a firearm. It could be assault, it could be a robbery, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also look at the years, Tina, look at the years. 5 matches with.
Also not to
No, what does it? Show me 66. I see 24, 25, I see 38, and then the 68 for 24, 25, right?
Right, see this?
Oh, okay, yeah. Mrs. Heat Map.
Yeah. No, and then by our next presentation, I think we'll have this parsed out a little bit more specifically. And they've been very helpful, so I think we're gonna get the information that's most relevant.
It would be great if we could get comparable time periods, as opposed to a full year on this calendar and a partial year on this calendar, just so we can see.
And just as maybe a side note, but the way that I understand the data is recorded is it could be one incident that results in 3 different charges for the same act. And so you have to be cautious about that.
Yes, sir, it could. Yes.
So my question is, we have some targeted zip codes, and is that because the interrupters only worked in those zip codes, or is there just nothing much to say about the other zip codes?
No, I think, and it's reflected as well in some of these graphs, when you look at the zip codes specifically, you could see an uptick in offenses per zip code. And so some of the most, I think, that have involved incidents of gun violence are 32641. I think some of them are covered on the bottom, sorry. 32609 are some of our highest as well. And so looking at where these offenses occur, where some of our law enforcement information is coming from, we try to center our efforts in those areas. All right, and so lastly, our community outreach events. I think there was some feedback from the trust of working specifically with young people and really trying to vamp up our efforts in that area. So one of the things we were able to launch in December of last year was STEM on the East Side. If you're familiar with the Clarence R. Kelly Center, which some folks call the Blue Center, which is in the Duval neighborhood, we're looking at trying to stimulate activity in that area, in that community center specifically. And so we partnered, our gun violence coordinator, Mr. Young, partnered with an early childhood education specialist, Ms. Erica Perry, to do STEM outreach and activities twice a week. So we're in there from about 6 to 8 p.m. And it is for families and young people that kind of live in that area, that can walk, that can carpool, that can get there, who may or may not be in other kind of structured programs or activities. Many of them are not. Many of them, it was their first time actually inside the center to do programming. So you can see some pictures there on the top. Our April flyer, which this month we're looking at autism awareness and talking a little bit about that. But the activities have been centered, yes, on STEM, but also on social emotional learning, team building, communication. Some of the activities are designed so that young people might struggle a little bit to complete them, so that they have to ask for help, they have to work through frustration, they have to kind of build that muscle, right, of like internal conflict of not being able to do something. And so we've seen very consistent participation. We average anywhere from 15 to 20 young people every session, including parents that have stayed to do some of the programming as well. And it's been a really positive experience. And we've also collaborated with the Gainesville Police Department and other city departments to do what we call community care callouts. So after most of the time a homicide, but if it's significant enough, we go out exactly where the crime happened or close by or in that community to offer resources, information. So on the bottom, you can see a picture with the Gainesville Police Department. There was a shooting incident in the Phoenix area, and so the police department came out, and together we kind of collaborated on what we call these community care callouts. There's tabling, there's resources for families, and our violence interrupters are present at those events. And then most recently, we had a community event out at the Clarence R. Kelly Center. Any questions? All right, and so our last slide. For the technology hubs, so just to build some context, the technology hubs grew out of a pilot program that we did at the City of Gainesville, where we looked at an apartment complex that had, its fair share of disproportionate gun violence, and we looked at some of the things that they needed, and one of them was we want to build an after-school program, and right now we have one laptop that a lot of kids share. We just don't have a lot of participation. So we made a small investment of laptops to this community center. They were able to establish with other partnerships, of course, but they were able to establish an after-school program where they went from serving just a handful of students to over 30. They were able to build other programs, build other partnerships, and over the last year in that particular apartment complex, we've seen calls for service come down, incidents of gun violence come down, other types of crimes that we're looking at, and so we thought that this was an opportunity to grow initiatives like that. And a recent community health assessment done by the health department also showed disparities in internet access for families, access to resources, things like that. So one of the foundational pieces of this initiative is not only to provide laptops to organizations, but to do it, one, in target zip codes and areas where we know there's disproportionate gun violence, but also for programs that are already doing the work and just need kind of this small investment to help build some of their programming. So you can see some of our targets there to increase technology and technology-based programming, to activate community spaces for safer communities, and create pathways of opportunity. And you can see on the right our selected programs: Dream on Purpose, Infinite Dream Builders, the Pine Ridge Community Center, Residents at Oakview, and the Nehemiah Project. We also chose NMB Organization and Thrive Newberry, but they've since withdrawn. Thankfully, NMB was able to get their own supply of laptops, and so they were no longer in need of the program and withdrew. And Thrive Newberry did a soft launch last month, but then figured that they needed a little bit more time to get the program that they wanted off the ground, and so they asked for a little bit more time and felt like it would be better to give the laptops back while they update some of their programming. So right now we're at 5. We're looking to get the last 2 technology hubs out to programs.
Any further questions from the board? This is not an action item today. This is to update us on information, but any general comments from the public? Anyone wishing to on to our presenters?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, our next presenter, Leslie Banis with the Community Foundation of North Central Florida. I'm sorry.
The county has their gun violence
So
presentation
sorry.
as
I
well.
did not, so sorry.
We
Just
will
glossed right
have
over that.
Mr. Carl Smart here for the county.
My apologies. I didn't see that.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Children's Trust, and of course, Ms. Counter, your Executive Director. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I'm just going to follow up a little bit with with what the city has presented. Our position as the county is to be part of an alliance, and the alliance is the City of Gainesville, the Alachua County, and Santa Fe College, and we come together to discuss, to look at ways strategies to prevent gun violence, and we do that monthly. A couple of ways, with planning meetings as well as the stakeholder meetings that are done monthly. So we really want to support what the city had already had going and now has been enhanced because of the funding that you're able to provide through the Children's Trust, and we certainly are thankful for that. So that slide just shows a list of some of the items we're going to quickly go through. And I was mentioning the Alliance, usually the meetings at the Blunt Center, but we've been moving around the county some. We've met in City of Alachua, City of Newberry, And this summer, we're looking to meet in the city of Hawthorne, and we should be over there. And we invite residents to come in and speak with us about any violence issues, particularly gun violence issues that they're seeing happening in their communities, and suggestions and input on strategies to help prevent. So that's been going well, and we want to continue that with the stakeholder meetings. As far as the county and the funding that we've received, the next slide shows we've got two sets of funding, $222,850 for many grants. Initially planned to be $33,000 each, and then the youth steering committees at $42,000. We did do the fund the grant projects, and we funded 9. And in order to get the 9, we couldn't get the 9 to work with 33,000. So we had an innovative motion at the county commission meeting to reduce the amount some and make sure that everybody received a sizable grant, and we were able to move forward with that. I'll show you just a second what those grants were. 8 awards at $26,606.25, and then 1 award at $10,000. And yes, we made a note that that one $10,000 grant was for the Gainesville Area Community Tennis Association, and that's what they asked for. So they got a full award at $10,000, and others we split it a little bit, and so we had to go back to the grantees and get them to adjust their budgets to the 26.6, but they were very agreeable in doing that. What was the goal of the funding opportunity? Of course, to support evidence-informed, community-driven interventions that reduce gun violence, looking at different strategies, primary, secondary, tertiary prevention strategies, and making sure that it connects with the community in order to get those, to get the input from the community. The intent was to reduce incidents of gun violence. At the stakeholder meetings, Brittany showed some data from the Department of Juvenile Justice, City of Gainesville Police Department, the Sheriff Department, and other law enforcement agencies are there on a monthly basis to report, but primarily city and counties, city and sheriff, every month, the monthly meetings, report on their data and what's happening with their with any gun-related incidents and the rate of crime in our county. It seems to be that we're having, overall, there's a good impact, but that's more than just us. That's everybody working together. That's all the county working together, city and county and others working together. Promote protective factors, promote multi-sector partnerships, and of course use the data-driven approaches in order to handle these awards. We sought applications from nonprofit organizations, from faith-based organizations, from schools, educational institutions, health providers, local governments even, and grassroots organizations. And I think we got a good variety, if you will, of agencies applying for and receiving those grants. These are the agencies that receive the grant awards using the funding from the Children's Trust. Each of those, again, $26,606. The Community Impact Organization that focuses on youth engagement activities, performing arts, and life skills training. The Community Impact Corporation affiliates with the Back to School Rally program that Reverend Carl Anderson's been doing annually. So they affiliate with that and they work out of that church, but they're looking to do year-round activities, not just that back-to-school rally. Dream on Purpose, I think you may have some other funding with Dream on Purpose. They're looking to do a program called Filming on Purpose. And that filming will be using youth to talk about their experiences with gun violence, either as victims or otherwise, or as suspects, but are indirectly being involved. They know somebody who was involved in gun violence, and it's impacted them. And so we're looking forward to Dream on Purpose, putting together that documentary, if you will, of youth telling their stories. The Florida Institute of Workforce Innovations is Project Youth Bill. And we know that they take students and they take them through a GED program, make sure that they get their certificates, but they show them how to do construction, how to build. And they actually do participate in building projects, affordable housing and all. And you see there, that's their age, their target. In Dream on Purpose, their target was 11 to 18. The Project Youth Bill target is 16 to 24. Gainesville Thrives is looking to do more of a family-centered literacy and empowerment program, working on literacy, but also working on empowering families, working with parents, as well as the children. IGB is working on firearm education, and they're going into the schools. They're going in during the lunchroom time, and talking with students about how to handle firearms properly and respectfully, and how to properly store them, and to prevent violent incidents, helping to promote gun violence understanding. So 2 schools there, Oakview Middle, Eastside High School. Infinite Dream Builders, IDB, is kind of a new agency that's formed to look at job training and STEM focus. They want to do a robotics program where students will build robots and then compete with other places and other agencies with their robots. And so we're looking forward that could be a very innovative type program. Kids Count has been around. They're operating out of the Duval Early Learning Site and doing mental health training and counseling with students and their caregivers. So forward to that. Peak Literacy, we know, I think it said Leah is here, and we look forward to that contract with Peak Literacy and the tutoring and the after-school programs and all the training that they will provide. And I've already mentioned the Gainesville Area Community Tennis Association. Again, another after-school program that combines mental health and youth mentoring with learning how to play tennis. A question was, how are we going to measure impact? And we've required every agency to provide performance measures and deliverables. And so this is a form that each of them are using and will be using as they get into this program, and they'll be submitting those on a regular basis so that we can track their performance and their deliverables. So when we come next time, next quarter, whatever, we'll be able to show you more actual statistics, actual data from these organizations. One of the questions we received from the leadership team had to do with duplicate funding and how do you handle duplicate funding. And so I had some discussions with the grants division and grants department and to talk about that. And we really don't seem to have at this time a process to prevent duplicate funding, but we can certainly monitor it. And one of the things we're thinking of doing is maybe changing our RFA. We didn't use the RFP, we tried to simplify it and just a request for applications, and maybe adjusting that request for applications to require the agency show the budget with all funding that will be used for that specific project. We don't ask for all the funding that the agency receive, realizing that they get grant funding and foundation funding and other funding from other sources. But what funding will be used for gun violence prevention, for example? And so I think we can certainly require that information up front and then monitor it with our desk visits, desktop monitoring or site visits. The county is looking at a staffing issue with this project. We certainly don't have the staff like the city has provided to do this project, but we'll be looking at what do we need, what staffing we need to allocate in order to help monitor and provide to make sure this program is very successful. Youth steering committees, we've been impressed with what the city is doing, and with some funding coming from the Children's Trust, the city has been able to branch out into the county, so they're doing not just City of Gainesville, but Alachua County, and we certainly support that. At the same time, we're looking to form steering committees, even though they're already working in the county. Steering committees in the eastern part of the county and the western part of the county, Alachua and High Springs, looking at a committee out there, a steering committee out there, kind of centered around Santa Fe High School, but not necessarily limited to students from Santa Fe High School. And then on the east side with Hawthorne, Waldo, being an anchor actually for a steering committee there and being able to share. And so we're ready to go with that, and we'll continue to support the city of Gainesville and their youth steering committees, but also set up committees in the east and the western side. Brittany mentioned the community care call-outs, and I just wanted to mention it here briefly that this idea came up after a shooting that happened on the east side. And thought about it, Eastwood Meadows, I think is where it happened. It's like we really ought to go out there and see how people are dealing with the fact that they've had that kind of a incident in their community. And so putting together a combined team of police, the law enforcement a little bit, but also having social workers to go with law enforcement out there and talk with the residents, either at the community center out there where you have the group to come together like they did at TB McPherson, or knock on doors and just talk to folk and say, you know, are you okay? And do you need anything? And here's some, you know, resources that might be available to you that you might be able to call on. And so we think that that's a good thing. It helps to, it's a reaction, but it's also it's proactive in hopefully helping to prevent other incidents from occurring. And I put the numbers on here for the crisis center and the suicide hotline. One thing that's been clear to us in looking at the data, there's more shootings, more deaths from gun violence that are suicides versus homicides. A little bit surprising, but having a crisis center like we have here in Alachua County with over 100 volunteers that answer the phones 24/7. They're really on the front line along with our first responders doing gun violence prevention. And so just wanted to mention them. In fact, we're looking to have them come and do a special training for us at one of the stakeholder meetings of the Alliance, of the Gun Violence Prevention Alliance. So this is just a short overview of the county's position, the county's support of the city's program, and certainly want to thank the trust for helping to provide the funding that we're using to do what we do. Be glad to respond to questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Smart. Any questions, comments?
I'm a newbie here, but this is close to what I do every day. And so community care call-outs, I can't applaud you enough for doing that type of work. I think we forget that, of course, the victims of crime and their immediate family are at the core of the issue, but the local community where that incident took place is affected more than maybe sometimes we understand. And so just some words that came to mind as I deal with these in court and here, and thinking about it, there's a sense of confusion, loss, the pain, anger, frustration, and I think the folks want some assurance, and they want some assurance from people in our local government, whether it's law enforcement or otherwise, that we understand what they're dealing with and that we have options for them, and that we're just not going to close our door and forget about the circumstances. So that's a long way of a mini speech to tell you, I hope this continues to grow and that's something that you continue to focus on, because it is vitally important.
Yeah, thank you, Judge.
So what Judge Pena was just talking about is what I thought we were paying for. I didn't think that we were paying for the programs that the trust is already paying for, and we've already spent years figuring out how to administer those funds and how to assure accountability for the paying of these grants. So I'm a little confused as to how this is not an end around the trust and our processes.
Certainly, I'll speak, and maybe the counter might speak, but certainly it's not intended to be in the round. Our thought was that, there's organizations out there already that are trying to do this work, that are working with community, working with young people after school. They're mentoring, they're helping to teach them how to read and all that stuff. And they just need some additional funding, to build capacity and to expand what they're doing. So that was our thought. Now, I'm not sure how much that overlaps, if you will, with programs that the trust is already doing, so.
Yeah, I'll speak, Dr. Hart, let me speak to that. At the county, when we had the discussion, you can imagine who came up with the 26,606 and 25 cents. We had 9 RFAs.
25 cents, yeah.
Yeah, and we wanted to fund them all because they were all uniquely different in the focus towards what each organization was focusing on with regards to gun violence. Many of these organizations have different purposes, different missions, but this was solely focused on the gun violence kind of aspect of the small grant. And so my comment is actually I'm very interested to see outputs of each of these small grants, because some of the programs are completely different. This program is completely different than ICG's. And so it really is kind of, I viewed, at least at the county commission, I think my colleagues at the county commission viewed this as what innovative approaches can these organizations, which are already doing the work in our community, what innovative things can they do focused on gun violence? And so each one of those grants were a little different. That's how we came up with that 26,606 by taking basically the 22,850, subtracting the ACEs in motion 10,000 and then doing a math problem divided by 8. And that's how the number came up.
Yeah, to Member Hart's point, though, I mean, like 5 of these names, I think we've seen recognized in regular grant cycles, and IGB tells us specifically the gun violence angle, and I guess the other ones are more about their general mission, and that is confusing to me as well, because I don't see, in terms of outcome, they're focusing on that's specific to gun violence, as opposed to general funding for the mission, worthy missions, but missions of the organization. Member Labarda?
So I don't frankly care where people get their money from if they're doing something good. What I would want to make sure is that we're not serving the same kids with 2 different pots of money. So as long as the kids that are being focused with the grants that you're providing these organizations are different children than the ones that we're funding, so together we then ought to have more children served than the ones that we're targeting to serve. That would be my only concern. I mean, we've asked providers to expand the number of funders, and in this area there are a limited number of those. So I think as long as they are in combined total serving more children than what we're paying for, I think we've asked them to seek additional funding from other places. That's one way of doing it, and there are only a limited number of places to get money.
Any other discussion from the board or questions?
So I just have a question that my colleague pointed out, and the thing there, the grants that were awarded, Mr. Smart, were they from the county funds or were they from funds for CTAC? Because I was thinking it was from county funds. Oh,
There's been, yeah, right. There's been 2, the county has done 2 different grant award programs recently, and the first one was purely county money.
okay.
Yeah, purely county funds. And this most recent one is funds that we received from you, from the Children's Trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ensuring that we're getting more kids.
Yeah, so I thought it was county money until Dr. Hart was like pointed out on the thing there. I completely, because I just got this when I got here, but when I looked at it, so yeah, we do want to make sure we're doing that, because that we are expanding and we're not just giving.
We're not upping the rate, we're upping the number of kids.
Yeah.
And I suppose we're going to have to collaborate and share information in order to make sure that we're doing what you're looking for us to do, to make sure that money is serving different kids. Yeah.
Well, I think I heard different kids for different purposes, perhaps in the same program.
Rate or higher total.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're not using the same money, lots of money for the same kids.
And I guess also, I think we have to be really careful to ensure that we're staying in the lane that the statute requires us to stay in, that we're serving children 0 to 18. Like I heard in the presentation that they're doing some family type things, and I'm not sure if that is really an allowable use. It is family?
Family.
Okay, so parents, family, okay, so it's
Family
good.
caregiving.
Was it the 18 to 24 that caught your, because there was
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
the age 18 to 24, was that what your concern was?
The
Outside of
18
scope?
to, outside of the 0 to 18, which is what's in the statute. And then when the parent focus, so I know we can't reach children without reaching parents, but I don't think a program can be directly, totally to parents, right? It has to have some connection to you, to the.
There's a specific connection that has to take place. For an example, when we think about our newborn home visiting program, that service is to the family, but it benefits the child. So we do encourage family engagement within a lot of our programs, because we know the outcome of that is stronger children that are thriving. But you're absolutely correct. 18 to 24 is not our target population. And so when we are requesting data and looking at performance measures and program information, we are sticking to that to ensure There are some programs that do reach that target population, but they are not allowed to benefit from the program that we're funding.
I'm not trying to make like a big stink out of it because, no, honestly, because when I was looking at the DPI's, their plan, and they did the SWOT analysis, some of the root causes of gun violence are poverty and things of that nature, right? So, like, I didn't have a problem with it because you said job skills and things like that, because that means that we're attacking the root. And, you know, I want to go, like, this one thing when I read it, I keep going back to it. Poverty and desperation from people who are struggling. And I think, you know, education helps that as well as job skills, you know. So that's why I didn't really get, but when I heard my colleagues say, wait, some of these people were already funded and they were giving this money, but I thought it was from them. So that's why I was only just asking the clarification, because
I was reading it the same way you were.
so, I mean, we do, this is a complex issue that is not easily attacked or resolved. And, you know, some of the agents, the entities or the organizations that the trust funds, and they come, got a set of things, but this gun violence things is something different. And hopefully we've gotten, not necessarily innovative, but we've got organizations that are looking at it from a different aspect, from just somebody that's just serving, you know, children, you know. We've got to look at it with the lens and that they've gotten outside of the smaller children into that teen or preteen area. From that, or have some intervention so that we can right track them or help their families. So that,
Thank you, board members. I think you all have been very clear. So, Mr. Smart, what I would suggest is that you and your team get with Belita and our contract managers to look at how we can specify how you all will determine what students will benefit from these funds. And I think that's how we do it. We sit and we walk through how these organizations can ensure that there is no double dipping. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. But before you step down, any comments or questions from the general public on this presentation? Okay, oh, please. Just come to the, you don't have to have a written statement, just come to the podium and introduce yourself. That would be great. Oh, I'm so sorry. Around this. Okay. Then we will invite you a little later. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we have Leslie Banis with the Community Foundation of North Central Florida.
If you want. Okay, sure. All right, thank you. Thank you for inviting the Community Foundation. Thank you for being our partner as a local funder in the community and for joining us on this data, being able to provide more data to our community. So I'm Leslie Banis, Vice President of Community Engagement at the Community Foundation. And today we're talking about our community indicators. I believe in your slides it says My Sidewalk. My Sidewalk is the product we use, but what public facing is called our community indicators. And so we started on this journey a few years ago and really wanted to present more data in our community. The Community Foundation since 2020 has really been behind the scenes in gathering our own data. And then really in 2024 came on trying to say what data already exists that we can provide to our community. It's important that we make data-driven decisions in our community. We attract our own return on investment and really our long-term progress in the community. I am no data expert. I do our data collection at the Community Foundation, but I am by far no data scientist, and I feel like most decision makers in our community are not either. And so the great thing about this site that we'll be sharing today The Community Indicators site helps put this data into charts and graphs so that the average community member can read and understand what data is out there in the community, especially those of us that would not consider ourselves data scientists. Next slide. Thanks. So in June 2024, you can see the funding here. There's been about, since June 2024, about $45,000 from the Children's Trust for this project, and then other outside funders from the Community Foundation, private donors, and private foundations who've come on board, about $60,000 to produce our community indicators. Our board and a task force from our board have been working with local experts on data. What do we want to share with our community? What do we want to show? And how can we collect this data and share it with our community? Next slide. The important thing for the community indicators was that it would be open to the community. There would be no cost to access the data. Right now, there are two sites for the data. There is the Community Indicator site, which is what our board and our task force has been working on that is public-facing. The CTAC has a site that they have access to that they can share. And then we also have fee-based structures that the Community Foundation can pool data specifically for specific projects. So the product we use, which is called My Sidewalk, has 4 billion data points. It's almost endless, the amount of data points we can pull. So we really wanted to take time. It took us about a year to go through the data. We did hire a data consultant to work with us to figure out what data is important in our community and what we can show. So the remaining data that's in the back of the site, we are able to pull at any time to share with funders, decision makers in our community on an as-need basis. And then, like I said, who can access? We'll go through the site in a minute, but the site is open. The general public can go through what the Community Foundation has on an outwardly facing page and look through some of the data. Our nonprofits can come to us if they need some more data as they're writing grant reports, as they are looking for data in the community. That's free. And then custom reports. So the site has been really working on their AI, customization of reports. One thing we did this afternoon was a quick input. We said create in the system a SWOT analysis on literacy in Alachua County and compare it to a sister city. And it pulled us a report that will be on our website. Took about 8 minutes to pull the report, and it was a full SWOT analysis of what literacy looks like in our community using this public data. And so we can pull these reports during meetings, during conversations to really look at what the data is telling us. And we really wanted to make sure there was no barrier for this data in our community. We started something this year deemed our data deep dives. So we unveiled the information, the data to our community in October 2025. We did it through a webinar to our local nonprofits. We've been gathering their feedback. We call these data deep dives, and we've been kicking them off each quarter. We've been doing different topics, pulling in the nonprofits, and sharing the data that we have. We're asking their thoughts, feedbacks on that data, what data might be missing, and then being able to find that data and pull it in real time during these data deep dives in the system, and being able to pull some of these reports for the nonprofits, and then that is kind of changing some of the things that we're outwardly facing on our reports. Our next data deep dive is actually on Wednesday, and will be on literacy. So we've invited organizations in our community, nonprofits, leaders in literacy to join us as we dive through some of this data, see what's missing, and being able to pull in data. The main goal for this year is to start adding our local data into the system. So right now, a lot of the data sources, and you can see each data point when we get into the system, is sourced. Data comes from information like Florida charts, census data, Department of Children and Family data, it's all cited. And so how can we start inputting our local data to be compared to that? What's data that we're pulling locally here that can't be found elsewhere that we can start importing into the system to be added to the charts and graphs? And that's really a big goal for this year and what those data deep dives are helping us do. So many of you here hopefully are familiar with the Philanthropy Hub. So the Philanthropy Hub is our community's online searchable database of nonprofits serving North Central Florida. This is information the Community Foundation gathers each year of the nonprofits serving our area. There are 120 reporting requirements those nonprofits have to complete, mostly on governance and transparency and compliance. And with that, we are able to verify those organizations for funding, whether it's from the Children's Trust, the Community Foundation, or other local funders in our community, or even private donors are using this site to verify nonprofits in our community and see what nonprofits are serving different areas. We wanted to be able to connect the Philanthropy Hub to our community indicators. So as you'll see in a minute, each one of our community indicators site, you'll see the issues in our community, and then through the Philanthropy Hub, what nonprofits are working on those issues in our community. So you can see what is happening in real time of those nonprofits and what they're doing in our community. Next slide. And you'll see a little chart here where the nonprofits in our community are mapped, and you can actually select the nonprofits. You can go to their Philanthropy Hub profile and research that nonprofit and what they're working on in our community. Any questions before we dive into a quick site of what it looks like, what the site looks like? Yeah.
So being a data nerd, I get these blasts from Florida Charts all the time saying we've updated this or we've updated that. Do you automatically suck those things into here?
Yes, so the My Sidewalk does daily updates, so if there are any updates to any of the data that they provide, and Florida Charts is a data point that they provide into the system, and so it's updated in real time.
So my question, because we're bombarded with data, you know, we've got that Florida scorecard, like from the chamber. We've got, there's another one, you know, got that child well-being. I don't know who it's from. Is it like the folks as the immunizations and all that stuff? All of that. It's from one of those, like,
Nanny
yeah, them. So are you just, is this just an attempt, not an attempt, or is this an effort to personalize data to Alachua County? You're gonna take it from all those other sources and personalize it to Alachua County, so we don't have to have, or an organization wouldn't have to have a data analytics person, but they would just pay a subscription fee to this? Is that what this is?
So this is actually open, there is no fee, it's free. So there's subscription basis for us to pull data, but that's being paid for by local funders. So be able to have nonprofits come and pull detailed reports, and right now we're doing that through our data deep dives. And the intention is not necessarily a community report card, but the intention is this data can be changed. Community Foundation's task force is looking at this data ongoing. We are updating sort of what we are showing publicly, and then allowing nonprofits and decision makers in our community to pull reports as needed. We've had requests from local housing groups, from the county has made requests that we've shared data with. I think recently we shared data with the city of, was it Newberry, requested some specific information that we were able to share with them as well.
So you're there for members that are part of the Philanthropy Hub, organizations that are part of the Philanthropy Hub, or just anyone in our community?
But at this point, it's open to anyone. The benefit of the Philanthropy Hub is that the user who's going through the site can see the issues and then see the nonprofits working on those issues. So only the nonprofits that are in the Philanthropy Hub will be shown as organizations working on these issues.
Like while we're doing it.
So right now, there's the site is live. That you can see this site has, if we scroll, you can see on the side, there's an overview of our community, economic conditions, education, health and wellness, and quality of life is what we have live right now. I think the best one, if we can click on education, and we scroll through education, you can see it starts at the top.
No, we can't talk because it's online there. Yeah, we're having our share of AV challenges today, huh?
Dead batteries. Dead batteries. Somebody's got a necklace.
Maybe Belita can give her her microphone.
It wasn't my necklace all along.
It's a beautiful necklace. Go get it.
On now. That should
Okay,
work.
am I good? Okay. Oh, like this?
Yeah.
Is this right?
So right here to your mouth.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So you can see it starts with early childhood education. I will say the maps aren't necessarily, if we scroll down where we go to a map, we can break that down by census code. It can be broken down by zip code like this one is, depending on the data source. And then if you keep scrolling, you can see it starts with kindergarten readiness and then and then literacy, and again, we can get more granular with this when we're in these data deep dives as nonprofits are requesting different data. We can get more granular on some of this data. This is just what we have hourly facing. And then if we do scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see the Philanthropy Hub connection. So this usually takes a second to download, but you can see the nonprofits all working on education in our community. And we won't click on it because it'll take you off the site, but if you do click on this, it will take you directly to their Philanthropy Hub profile where you can learn more about that organization, including what they're working on, who their funders are, who their board members are, and any of their governance related issues. And so again, we are in our second year of this, and right now our main focus for the next year is connecting our local data and also working with the nonprofits on what data there might be gaps in. We've worked closely with the Children's Trust Board on some data as well, and they also have access to go in and pull some data as well.
Leslie, I have to say I'm intrigued with that 8-minute AI analysis of all the billion data points, and then the question that somebody asked of how does Alachua County compare with a similar size community, and where do you envision the answers to those questions or those reports living on the website?
Correct. So those would be requests that would come in, and we could pull that data. At this point, that's where we're at, and that's where we're doing in the deep dives, or we're having funders request that information, and then we can go in and pull it. So at this point, when we pull those reports for certain funders or certain groups, they're only living with who we provide it to. There's no sort of database of what we've pulled.
It's just interesting because the same questions get asked in different meetings in different parts of town, and over time, it's something to think about that. How could we socialize that information and democratize it so that others know it as well? Member Cornell?
Yeah, Leslie Barzella, this is great. I know we are just at the surface of beginning to build this database of information. And with each day and each use, it will continue to get better and better and better. I think a lot of our large philanthropists, they want information. They want to see direct impact, and you are starting, this site is beginning to provide that. What is the AI that you are using? Are you using Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, all of them? Which one?
So it's a specific one that the My Sidewalk company has built into their product. And so I can ask more details on the specific brand they use, but right now it's in a trial process, and the Community Foundation is in their trial process with them as they're building this AI tool.
So I think that's great. I think challenge, the assumptions that they're using, they're all very different, and some of them are kind of bubbling to the top with regards to being the best. From our perspective, right in our mission statement, support a coordinated system. So I think as we continue to partner and collaborate with other organizations that are providing really good information into this local database, I think it'll be really powerful as our budgets become less and needing to be more focused. You know, the thing that we just talked about, the counties, you know, that's probably going to go away in the next budget cycle, guys. Like a preview, we're not going to be able to fund the county for gun violence, 250,000, I don't believe. So what those entities produce with regards to outcomes will be critical to their survival with regards to who are the best and the brightest providing significant impact in our community. And having this tool and those providers that are really bought in to this data sharing and collaboration are going to be the ones that we're going to be able, I believe, to fund into the future. I know we kind of talked about this 2 years ago, and I feel like, you know, we're like, okay, the beginning, we're here. It's not perfect. There'll be a lot that will be built on top of this, but man, it's couldn't be at a better time. So thank you.
Questions from the board?
Yeah, I'm really interested in the issue that Board Chair Chance raised about the very interesting reports that you're pulling for people. And if there were some list somewhere of the reports and we could just say, I want that one, but could you just update it, please? Is it easy to do something like that? Because I think we can trend over time. If we could just update the report, make trend graphs over time to show our impact. This is what we're just striving so hard for. I think this is a really neat tool, and we're just kind of taking baby steps to figure out how to use it. And I think the best way to make a baby step into a giant step is to take advantage of some smarter person who pulled a really good report a year ago or 6 months ago that I could use if it were updated.
Sure, we could even put a tab in there of requested reports and then make all requested reports public so anyone could see them.
And I don't think it would be hard for your AI system to just say, oh, let's just see who's got new data. Has Florida Charts got something new on this subject? We'll put it in. I think this is amazing, amazing. And Leslie, you're going to be my new BFF.
I'm ready. Leslie, be careful.
Because I'm going to be calling you and saying, would you come to my collaborative and explain to all the 50 people on that collaborative call how they could use this? Really, that's going to be your job, and maybe you're going to need a few interns to help you do it. But you know what I mean?
It's only 4 billion data points.
But you know what I mean. People need to know that this tool exists. This is like way better than going to Encyclopedia Britannica, which is how we were raised, right?
Well, if you even think about the swag, the heat map at swag, and the amount of time that took you versus how you could do that type of.
Oh, they'll never do it as good.
You know, and what I would say to because there's a lot of nonprofits here today, is as the foundation does these deep dives, topic by topic, I mean, there were 4 billion data points, and you have to start by choosing somewhere, which means we're going to have left something out that's more or less critical. So I think if you get an invitation to participate in this deep dive, it's really important to do that, because that's the only way we can make the data more useful to the local community, is to say, and we've had a few where, you know, what comes up is, oh no, this is really missing from here. Is there something? And then Leslie goes right on and starts doing a search and seeing if that data is available. So it's really, really critical that we all participate in the development and growth of this.
Thank you. Any questions from our devoted general public on this conversation? Comments? Thank you so much, Leslie, and the Community Foundation.
Could we get the link to access that? I'd like to poke around. You can just email it to Marcia.
Okay, I show no old business to deal with, but we do have an action item under new business. Belita James, Director of Program Operations for the Trust, is going to give us mid-year review recommendations and updates.
Good evening. I was checking to make sure it was evening. Good evening. I'll let them get started. It's not up there. Okay, you got me started? All right. Start without it. Okay. In 2025, we initiated the mid-year review process. This review is designed to give a mid-year snapshot of the provider's status programmatically as well as fiscally. The snapshot provides staff with information needed for contractual adjustments such as budget reductions, termination, or reallocations. So for this year's review, we approached it slightly different due to preparing for strategic and budget alignments. We are completing the review in two phases. Phase one, which we completed in March, was the programmatic assessment, which is, just to give you an overview of it again, contract managers, they assess where the services are delivered as outlined in the scope. Key focus on program quality as well as compliance and safety practices. May include staff youth ratios, activity implementation, or staff qualifications, just as some of the things that we may look at. Also, data quality and performance measures are reviewed to ensure all required data is complete, accurate, and submitted on time. Includes demographics or attendance, participation, and survey data. And we're looking for strong data quality because it reflects true program performance. And performance measures, of course, we're looking at where they are and if they're on target to meet their performance measures by the end of the year. So we assess where they are under how much, how well, and better off. Next slide, please. So for phase one results, we reduced one contract by $6,500 due to a change in the scope. Also not included on the slide, due to non-implementation of a program, we reallocated $60,000 to Goodwill for Teens Work Alachua. These funds will go to employ 30 additional youth. Okay, next slide, please. Phase two will include a comprehensive fiscal review, which we will look at current invoicing status, expenditure history, program budget, and program budget alignment. This is to funnel into the budget reductions for fiscal year 27, also fiscal year 2027 program transition. So basically, since we already have to make so many changes, we really need to take time and come back to you guys with the recommendations for not only budget reductions for 2027, which will be based on things such as the last 3 years you've consistently left $25,000 at the end of the year, and also where you are in your current status of invoicing. Are you on time? Is it accurate? So those type of things will play into the decisions that we make, also looking at where these programs align with our strategic plan. So our next steps is to reassess programs for fiscal year 27 programmatic budget, which we will be doing in April. Most of April, the first part of May. It takes a while for us to do phase two as well as go back and look at the alignment of the programs with our strategic plan and then what these reductions or transitions will look like. And come back and present recommendations for program transition based on strategic plan alignment and results of fiscal and programmatic review. Then we want to provide providers with this communication. We don't want to spring it on them. We want them to know that it's coming. So that is our next steps, and this.
Okay, we have a super quick motion to accept staff recommendation and a second from member Certain. Any discussion?
So the $6,500 and the $60,000 reduction, how was that received by the provider?
Well, one program I will let Marcia speak to that. It was a program that we had budgeted for, but after discussion and meetings with them, we decided it wasn't a good fit for CTAC, so that left $60,000 open, well, unallocated in the budget. The change in the scope with the 6,500, they came to us and basically said, we won't be able to do it. So then that was reduced in their contract.
Thank you. And so while I am happy to hear work because it is so successful and has such a positive impact, I'm going to circle back. Has Goodwill met with the request from the board and from member Cornell specifically about them bringing back a proposal to us where they kind of solicit some funds to improve or to add to the pot so that we can do that? Or are they just still just kind of?
Depending on it.
So there is a meeting, I don't think it's tomorrow, this week. They have provided us with a proposal. We will be discussing it. And then based on that meeting, more information may be shared with you at our May meeting. But yes, they have put together a proposal for how we can grow the program and bring in additional funding.
Member Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to know where the $6,500 is going.
It will remain unallocated. We didn't reallocate it.
Okay, fund balance.
May I speak? Sorry. In technicality, that would not necessarily go back to unallocated. It would be going back to assigned because it would be given to a program. And we're making recommendations towards that, just to keep us all utilizing the same GASB terminology.
Thank you.
Member Cornell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Member Certain, for bringing up that point with Goodwill. If you'll tell them when you meet with them tomorrow that that's a 2-year request. We did approve 60,000, but the budget is coming up this year, and we will be looking really hard at where we are. And I think hopefully you'll be happy with their proposal. I'll certainly rely on you for that. Really, I just want to say thank you to staff. You know, a big lift to get this mid-year. I also want to tell our judge, welcome to a pretty heavy first meeting. Tab 7 is where it all happens. You know, we talk about our priorities, but we talk about what's important, but we literally fund our priorities. As you get into the budget and start to review, you'll see that we have a pretty significant use of fund balance this year that we will not be able to repeat. So as we're going through this budget cycle and we've taken staff's recommendations, we're not going to be able to fund everybody this year. It's reality. Also, with the uncertainty of what's coming down the pike with the ballot initiative, our reserves from 2 months to 3 months. You're joining at a really great time. Where the pencil sharpening will be in full force this budget cycle. So, so happy to have you on our board. I just want to tell you that. Longtime Gainesville guy, and we're just really longtime Gainesville gal. We're just really fortunate to have public servants that care about this community sitting on this board.
This is a follow-up, given where we're going to be looking it's really important. And I love, thank you, adding whether invoices are current or not yet billing, because that's very helpful. But it's very helpful, but there are still some that are clearly, they're saying current, but not drawing down but 25%. So that some understanding of what that is about, because I think as we start to take a look at how much allocated for next year or subsequent years, I think it's really, we need to understand more than that. We need to figure out if you're current, but only at 25%, and this is beginning of April, what's going on? Yeah, in the notes would be great.
I would just like to absolutely say that that is part of our plan, and that is what we are, intending to do. Not only are we going to be providing the numbers and, the quantitative data, but also the qualitative data that would support the reasoning over a historical period so that the board can make informed decisions.
Motion and a second. Staff recommendations. So, items 15 and 16 in your report are for informational purposes only, but they are updates from the Alachua County Reads Initiative. And if I could add to that a request for staff to send out the deck of slides on the Pinellas Early Literacy Initiative to the Trust board members. I know Member Hart was there, but I think everybody would have an interest, and refreshed my memory to hear the story again, but it came from a Pulitzer Prize winning article in the Dropout Factory Schools in St. Pete. Close the achievement gaps, make significant strides in closing gaps in a number of schools. Worth learning from that community for sure.
If I could just kind of speak to the Alachua County Reads Initiative again to our new members. This board, 6 meetings ago, at the end of last year, made a 3-year, $550,000 per year commitment to literacy. 3-year commitment. We are trying to really make a difference. 2 out of 3 of our African American kids are not reading at grade level. And while we understand the challenges that the school system has with regards to funding, this is our chance to really make a difference. The city and the county had an opportunity to have the literacy initiative presented at a joint meeting. Leah was there with Peak Literacy, and the work that she and her team are doing, this community are doing, are nothing more than amazing. I want to say that publicly. I will say that from that meeting, it was so impactful that the county commission at the last board meeting during commission comments, Anna brought up that the county is like all in on this. And we are kind of telling our budget folks, we don't have money this year, but we have it for this. We really want this to happen. To the tune of, we don't want to lose ground over the summer. Anna brought up they need 30 or 40,000 to kind of keep this going, and we've kind of given that direction to our manager. So I just want this board to hear the county commission we were all in last year. We're really all in this year, and a lot of that is because of the work this trust is doing. Even though it's just for informational purposes, please go through it, understand it, have one-on-one meetings, because it's really important. I know it's important to the members, certainly. County Commission, and may even try to get the city to put some money in. We're still working on the city commission. They have their own challenges, but the library district is involved. Like, it's all hands on deck, the chamber, the community foundation. This is all hands on deck moment, and we are starting year 2. And I want to just continue to build on the momentum of year 1.
All right, our final opportunity for general public comments, so come on up. And could you just introduce yourself for the room, please? There you
I
go.
need to hold it? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna stay true because I got 3 minutes. Well, my name is Pamela Hawkins, and I run a wellness ecosystem, including Grace to Overcome, a nonprofit, a professional services piece, and a Be Well faith-based arm. But we focus on youth wellness, maternal health, and prevention-centered holistic health. And I'm here today to briefly introduce a Grace to Overcome public health awareness initiative called Hardwired to Heal. Decades of research, including the CDC and Kaiser Permanente's ACE study, has shown that adverse childhood experiences such as abuse, neglect, and household instability are extremely common and strongly linked to long-term health outcomes. These experiences can activate what scientists call toxic stress, which affects the developing brain and body and increases risk of chronic diseases, mental health challenges, and educational difficulties for youth now and later in life. Unfortunately, not every child will become an adult, but it is certainly true that every adult was once a child. We have not paid enough attention to that statement by the late Dr. Robert Block, the former president of the American Academy of Pediatrics. The good news is that science also shows that something's very hopeful. The body has an incredible capacity to heal through supportive relationships, healthy environments, and daily practices that regulate the stress response. Communities can help reduce the impact of toxic stress. Adverse childhood experiences are the single greatest unaddressed public health threat facing our nation today. Also stated by the late Dr. Robert Block, both well over a decade ago, along with other pioneers such as Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris. However, the study findings almost 30 years later still under-recognized. The Hardwired to Heal initiative aims to raise awareness about this science and equip communities with practical tools and support resilience and well-being. Toxic stress is not just stress. It is prolonged, unbuffered biological wear and tear on the whole body, and we can no longer afford to treat it as invisible. The signs are in plain sight. I am going to do my part to change that. If you're interested in collaborating, volunteering, partnering, or learning more about our initiative, or have me do a formal presentation, I would love to connect. We are stronger together. When I becomes weave and illness becomes wellness. Thank you for this time and the work that you do. Be well. And I also have sample posters and things.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. And I think we want to collect some of your materials before you go. Right, Katrina? Okay. All right. We've had quietness at this end of the table, but it's your opportunity. Any board member comments before we wrap up? Member Hart. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
My only comment is, for those of you that have not heard, we lost an angel in Latoya Gainey last Thursday. She's been with the county over 20 years. She has supported the county commissioners individually and collectively. Yeah. So, Yeah, you know, if you understand your county commission, LaToya was the person who connected the board to the staff, to the public servant, and we will all miss her. If you're working with the county and you're working with administrators at the county, give them some grace. We all need it.
Okay, so I had two quick things, and then I'm going to go back to Member Hurt. One is I really wanted to applaud you, Marcia, on making it a priority to have staff retreats and staff times that are off-site. I know how hard that is. But I also know you've had a lot of new people in the last year, and, you know, turnover is a real thing. And so culture is critical for getting the mission done, especially with so many moving parts. So I applaud you for lifting your head up and making that happen and having those regular retreats. The second thing, and this is just a wondering, if we're wondering about community sidewalk and all the information they have and how we can sort of socialize and democratize that data and information and make us smarter as a community and possibly have shorter meetings because we can get a question answered almost in real time before we go into a protracted conversation. And then we're also wondering about a program like Teens Work or other programs where we're wondering, can you expand this with other funding? My question and my wondering is, every time we see those great reports, and you will see them on the outcomes of programs, are we doing our part to share that outwardly? And Darlene and I talked about this a little bit so that it doesn't live and die in a board book. Because if somebody's cracked the code on something, and if we're saying funding's going to be tighter and it shouldn't all be on the trust's back, is there something we could do proactively to get that out in front of other potential funders? It's just a question and a wondering, and that may be more in conversations, maybe with the Community Foundation and others, but you're right, we do have limited funding sources, but some of those individual or private foundations would probably be very interested in some of the results that we're getting.
Thank you for that. That was a really good comment. I noticed, I do read these things. Thank you, Katura. I noticed that I made a general comment last time, and it showed up under general comments, but it really was a presentation I was suggesting, and that's by Pam Worsham of the McKinney-Vento program at the Alachua County Public Schools. And I think there is a lot about homeless children we don't know and we need to know, and she knows some of it. And I'd really like to have her come and share with us as a board what she's working on and what she can't do because federal government won't let her. And don't forget that her definition of a homeless child is different than HUD's. So her children are really, really in desperate situations, but they don't qualify. Those families do not qualify for HUD funding. And the way our community is structured, it's really Family Promise or Catholic Charities or just a teeny tiny pot of people who can help. And we need to understand that problem so we can figure out how to make it better. And I want to thank Christy for helping me wrap my brain around this, and Marcia for showing up to our collaborative meetings. But I think what Pam knows is something we need to know, like how the teachers figure it out, how the coaches figure it out. Yeah, it would be a really, I'm going to play around. Believe me, I'm going to play around on that.
Thank you for that. All right.
access to data that may not
Own access. $45,000, yeah, we can.
Final thoughts? So we are adjourned 6:09. Thank you.